Welcome to Creepin' It Real. I am Judah. This week we're going to be talking about the 1980 horror film known as City of the Living Dead. But before we get into this trailer and giving all my nitpicks, let me give a little setup. So a couple weeks back, I did a review of Scarecrows, and I asked for people's opinions on this. So Holy Parish of Doom reached out to me, gave me their thoughts about Scarecrows. He mentioned at one point that he would much rather watch Scarecrows or a Fulci movie over a silly Friday the 13th sequel or Nightmare on Elm Street. So I'm like looking through Tubi and Shudder, and the movie Demonia pops up. And I see that it's directed by Lucio Fulci. And I probably butchered that to death. But, yeah. So I see that and I'm like, hey, I'm going to give this a go. So I reached out to Holy Parish of Doom and I said, hey, I'm about to review Demonia. I was like, would you like to DM me and give me some of your thoughts and opinions on this? And I will incorporate them into my review. He basically said, social media is for losers. And I was like, man, that's brutal. And he said, I'll just give you my thoughts here. So he mentioned how Demonia is not something he would revisit. And I did watch it. And as I was doing some homework on it, I noticed that a lot of people kind of felt the same way. In fact, some of the things I read said that when he did that, he even tried to have his name removed from the movie, even though he has an acting part in this movie as a detective, which is quite funny to me. But he was unsuccessful in getting his name removed from that movie. Also, when people would ask him about it, he would say it was a fine movie that was ruined by bad photography. And one of the first things I noticed when I was watching that movie is even though it was a 90s movie, the photography felt like it was filmed on a VHS cassette, but everything else felt like it was the 70s. It was very strange to me seeing that date of 1990. It very much felt like it should have been a 70s movie, and I definitely felt that the cinematography felt like it was filmed on a VHS. So I totally get him on that. And some other people were like, the only people that are going to dig this are Fulci fans. So I decided to ditch that, and I went with a different movie that Holy Parish of Doom suggested, which is City of the Living Dead. Now, he goes on to explain certain things. Let me just read what he says. And I've never spoken to him, so I'm just going to make up this voice. And this is 100% what Holy Parish of Doom sounds like. I know this for a fact. Demonia is not a repeat viewing for me. In fact, I don't own a physical copy and only have seen it again in the last few years on a free streaming app. 100%. That's what he sounds like. Should I keep on with his voice or just use my own? I'll just do my own. On a free streaming app after having not watched it since the 90s. If you're going to nitpick on a Fulci film, I'd go with City of the Living Dead, my fave and available free here on YouTube, which I was very glad that he gave me that information, because when I was on Roku and did a search for it, I couldn't find it anywhere. So I did end up watching it on YouTube. The Beyond or House by the Cemeteries. Those comprise his Gates of Hell trilogy. Now, one thing that he says this, but one thing that I noticed when I was looking up information about City of the Living Dead is some people note it as also being titled Gates of Hell. So I was a little confused there. But anyway, and are his best works. You'll be capable of finding plenty of nitpicks nonetheless, trust me. Zombie is renowned, of course, as an unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead, not really, as is the New York Ripper. Both have their moments and set piece kill scenes, but for me, they pale in comparison to the Gates of Hell trilogy. So I have to say that after switching and deciding to watch City of the Living Dead, that I was glad that I did that. I had stuff to say about Demonia, but City of the Living Dead was much more entertaining. One thing that I would like to mention, which is because I happen to watch these movies almost back to back, at least, one on Friday and the next one on Saturday, is they both open, even though City of the Living Dead came out in 1980 and Demonia in 1990, they both have almost identical beginnings, which is the movie shows some kind of a horrific event. Demonia, it shows, all spoilers by the way, Demonia shows a group of nuns being strung up on crucifix by a mob. And then it cuts to some people doing a seance and one of the people having visions of this event occurring, okay? And then them freaking out and passing out, so forth. And then in City of the Living Dead, you see a priest hang himself. And then it cuts to people doing a seance. One person is envisioning this event occurring. They freak out and pass out. But I just found that odd. Let me show you real fast here. Okay, do you see this? You got this table. We got this seance. People doing thumbs to thumbs. We got pinkies to pinkies. Okay. Now let me find City of the Living Dead. Okay, here we go. And City of the Living Dead. We got a table that is very similar. At first, I thought it was the exact same table, but it's not. That other table had some kind of an image in the center, but the color tone is very similar. And once again, we got people doing the thumbs to thumbs, pinky to pinky thing. Now, I've never been to a seance. That's not something I would participate in. But if anybody out there, is this the reg? Is this how things go down? Okay, everybody put your hands on the table, touch your thumbs to thumbs and pinkies to pinkies of the people sitting next to you. That just seems really weird to me. So if my very first nitpick of City of the Living Dead, well, see, that's the thing. It shouldn't be, because City of the Living Dead came out before Demonia. So technically my nitpick should be that Demonia is stealing from City of the Living Dead. That was my first takeaway from this thing. Now, also within the cinematography of City of the Living Dead, one thing that bothered me a lot was there were so many close-ups of just the eyes. I mean, so many, with full-on conversations going on, but it was just focused in on the eyes, and that frustrated me so much. I was like, okay, I'm done with this. Let's move on, please. Okay, let me find this trailer. We'll go through this. Hopefully this trailer shows specific scenes which will spur me on to talk about things that nitpicked me. Also, side note, Holy Parish of Doom in another conversation mentioned watching a YouTube short film called The Oldest View by something Pixel. I can't remember, but I watched it, and I gotta say, I generally do not like found footage film. See, as the more I do this, I'm kind of like, you know what, Judy, you're not actually a fan of horror movies, because you can name more horror genres, subgenres that you hate than you can name that you like. So I may not actually be a horror fan. I may just be a horror hate watcher. Anyway, so The Oldest View on YouTube, something Pixel, created by something Pixel. I can't remember his name. This is somewhat of a found footage kind of a thing. Also, they even mentioned this in the video, kind of a back rooms type of a thing. And it's all three of the episodes together is about an hour long. And it kept my attention, and I enjoyed it. And I'm pretty grateful that he pointed that out to me. So any of you out there, you should, if you do like found footage, and I don't, but even with that, I still kind of liked this. It also reminded me of a podcast that I used to listen to, that Netflix made into a series, but I preferred the podcast about some guy that was going through tapes. He was supposed to be cleaning them, and as he was cleaning them, he was listening to them, and this like story was unraveling, and there was this weird kind of like a multiverse type thing going on. I really enjoyed it, and this The Oldest View somewhat reminded me of that, but I really enjoyed it, so give that a try. As per usual, I will be pausing and speaking in hopes to avoid any kind of copyright claim. This I actually wrote this down in my notes. That hangman's noose, when it gets flipped over that tree limb, I swear it makes like a bullwhip noise, like whoosh, and I swear that when it panned down, Indiana Jones was going to be down there. I was not correct. Indiana Jones was not down there. But I just found that sound effect that was added in there just to be a little too intense for this scene. This here, for me, was so freaking intense. Oh my gosh. This is the woman who is in the seance. They think she dies from fear, and they freaking bury her alive. She wakes up. She's like half buried. You got some these workers who are like, well, it's break time. We're not going to spend our time finish burying this casket. And there's this dude who has this pickaxe. He's a reporter. He thinks that he hears something, but he keeps like doubting himself, and he's like, nah. And certain sound effects in the background keep covering up. Like you have car horns. He thinks he's hearing somebody scream, but then you got car horns, and he's like, it's just car horns. And he keeps walking away, and then he stops and he's listening again. And then you have like sirens going on. Oh my gosh, it was stressing me the F out. I was like, this woman's going to suffocate to death. She's going to be buried alive. I'm freaking out inside. She's freaking out. She's screaming. She's scratching, And then finally, he turns around and walks all the way back. And I'm thinking, but the movie portrays that she has like used up all her oxygen and has passed out. And you're like, damn it. He finally comes back, and now she has no strength to scream or bang on this, and he's going to walk away. She's going to die. I swear this had me. I was like, I was freaking out. No, she does have enough strength to scream or bang one more time. Then he grabs his pickaxe and starts busting through this with like no concern whatsoever that he could potentially really kill her. As you're seeing in this trailer, where the pickaxe is almost nearly piercing her head. And I was like, bro, chill out. Somebody's in there. Take your time. I mean, well, obviously you want her to have air, but dude, you're going to like kill her. Chill the frick out. Do something a little more smart than what you're doing. Oh, this lady. First of all, this dude next to her, his name's Bob. This chick, whenever she talks, I swear she's like a Muppet or something. She uses Muppets, obviously, because unless they have like some kind of electronics going on inside of them, their expression is very, they have to use like head tilts and lots of movement to help, portray their emotion or their expression. And this woman used her head so much when she spoke, it just annoyed me. Obviously, when I'm talking, my head is moving and stuff. But this woman, it felt like whenever she spoke, it was like this. Oh, hello. How are you? Everything was very like wavy and it almost felt, I don't know, patronizing in a way, or like she was talking to children. But she did it to everybody, and it annoyed the heck out of me. Oh my gosh. I just was like, woman, just hurry up and die so I don't have to see you anymore. But everything was, oh, and hey, how are you? And everything. Blah, blah, blah. That was a major nitpick, just saying. Bob was involved with one of my favorite scenes in this movie, It was so hilarious. And I know some of you are thinking one thing, but it's not.
The city of the dead. The living dead.
Lucio, this man and his special effects loves to use worms. That is his, like, I bet if you were to look at his budget, I bet you would find like 20% of his budget is purely going towards worms.
A cursed city where the gates of hell have been opened.
You've got to. You must be close.
Here's this like freaking eye close-ups that happened every freaking 3 minutes. My gosh, and this woman in particular, maybe if her eyebrows were darker, I wouldn't feel, but she almost looks like, never mind. I'm just going to go past what I was about to say.
Close those gates.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special broadcast. Dunwich Police Authority.
Dunwich, which, by the way, this movie is borrowing mythology from H.P. Lovecraft.
Have declared a state of emergency, effective immediately within Dunwich County. All citizens are requested to return to their homes as quickly as possible.
This right here was actually a decent effect. The way that, like, continuous blood coming from this woman's eyes. Obviously, at first when they show her, you know, her hair is not this close to her eyes. But then when they do this scene, the hair is very close because they're, you know, they have little tubes that are coming off to the corners of her eyes. So obviously they're using the hair to cover up those tubes, but it still came off pretty well. And I can imagine people who, you know, don't have any kind of insight into special effects, first viewing this in 1980, would have been really blown away potentially by this.
In case of necessity, contact this station.
I am so curious as to what he used. This in particular, this effect, the grabbing the back of a person's head and just like crushing the skull and squeezing their brain out several times. This was almost overused as much as the close-up on the eyes, but I'm curious as to what they were using in here. There are other times when I am like 100% sure that they were using real intestines from animals in certain situations. It just looked too real. I was like, yeah, they definitely yoinked this out of a pig or a cow or something because this stuff just looks way too real.
DWC. The telephone number is 8259881. All citizens are urged to
It seems like
remain
this should be the
calm.
end of the trailer.
When you were in this trance, did you see anything besides that tombstone?
Oh, yes. I saw a priest.
Why they never go into why this priest hangs himself. It really annoyed me. It just starts off with him killing himself and there's no reason why. And somehow this event opens up the gates of hell. There's no kind of like, oh, well, this guy had some kind of a loss of faith. And in this loss of faith, he was just like, fine, I'm just going to do this event that's going to open the gates of hell. None of it made sense. It was just like two events that happened to coincide with each other. Or this, you know, this priest was just like at the end of his ropes, couldn't deal with stuff. And unbeknownst to him that him killing himself was going to open up the gates of hell. It made no sense. And I wish there would have been some kind of a clarification or motivation behind this, but there wasn't. Unless I missed it. So, Holy Parish of Doom, if I missed it, point it out to me, man.
Who by hanging himself opened the gates of hell.
One thing that does bother me, not just in this movie, but these people that are showing up here, their bodies did not look like this when they died. like we can assume that this is supposed to be some kind of a decomposition of the body since they have died. What has always bothered me is eyes that look like they have no degeneration to them whatsoever. Now this one is all covered up. Okay, that's fine, but this should have some kind of signs of deterioration that have gone on. And so that has always bothered me when eyes look, like crisp. They belong to a living being. And that's definitely, again, it's a nitpick, but that has always been something that has bothered me, not just in this movie, but in all movies. This dude, if I'm going to point out a most hated character, it's this guy right here. My gosh, he annoyed the frick out of me. That everything that came out of him just seemed like he was a superior kind of guy. Even though his tone was all like very understanding, it still came off as like this, I know everything and I'm just dealing with stupid plebs and I'm just going to deal with it because I know how much better I am and they're just fools. I'm just going to have to deal with it and save everybody. That's my opinion of this guy. Couldn't stand him. Just looking at him makes me want to punch him in the face.
She's still here. She's still in the house. No, she's in here.
This woman. This lady. I don't know what this woman's problem was. For sure. She was just hysterical about everything. At one point, you think that the guy that I want to punch in the face is her like therapist because she's kind of talking about stuff. And then, head nod woman just bust into the middle of their therapy session. I don't know if this is the scenario, but this is how it came off. They're in a therapy session, and then head tilty woman, oh, how are you? Everything's good. Just bust in and punch in the face man and head tilty lady. They just start talking about their like relationship issues. Okay. It's weird. There's like this little like bickering right in front of this lady. And I'm like, wait, you guys apparently have no kind of boundaries whatsoever. You're talking about personal stuff in front of this lady who was just pouring out her heart a second ago, getting some therapy. And this head nod lady gives no shits whatsoever that, she's taking over this woman's time. Doesn't matter. You'll have to watch it yourself to get what I'm saying. And I'm definitely being over bothered by this. I can clearly say that 100%. But for some reason, head nod lady and superiority complex dude that I want to punch in the face, they just annoyed the frick out of me.
I don't want to see her anymore. Jerry, get her out. Please. Tell her to go. She's in here. Do you hear her?
Lucio Fulci. I don't know how to tell me. Am I saying it wrong? Oh, guys. This is awesome. Right here. Those are maggots, real maggots, by the way. According to what I read, 22 pounds of maggots being blown through this window by some big-ass fans. Now, according to what else I read, there's the guy who plays the reporter. Him and apparently Lucio Fulci did not get along. This is what I read anyway. And also, Lucio apparently had a bag of tobacco and a pipe that he carried around with himself all the time. And one day he reached into his pouch to get his tobacco to fill his pipe, and his pouch had been replaced. Instead of tobacco, it was filled with a bunch of the maggots. And the story is it was the guy who plays the reporter pulled a prank on him. And based off the fact that what is sad is they did not get along. It wasn't really like a, haha, you're my friend, I'm doing this. It was more like, I hate your effing guts, and I hope this pisses you off kind of a scenario. Oh, I forgot about this. This kid's name, it's John. When they first said this kid's name, I about died laughing. I was like, wait, I did not hear that right. His name is not John John. My apologies to anybody out there named John John. I mean, I got a weird name, Judah, but at least it's not Judah. This is what I think most of you thought that I was talking about when I said Bob has a scene that I really love. Bob is somewhat a red herring in this movie. Things are occurring, and Bob has some shady past situations that make people think that Bob is the one who's making these things occur. It almost appears as if Bob is homeless, but he lives in some kind of like abandoned gas station or something. I don't know. It's really weird to understand Bob's place in this particular small, community. But it's obvious that the way he's spoken of, that he has maybe some slight mental issues, can't hold down a job or whatever. They definitely allude to the fact that he was getting close to raping a child. Now, before you actually see this woman, you have the opinion that he's a major creeper and he had like someone who was 13 or below that he was getting ready to molest. You later on see this woman and you're like, oh, she's freaking like 1 year younger than him. That in no way says that it's okay to molest somebody. Let me say that. But when you see this woman in interaction with Bob, you're like, oh, okay. She has a thing for Bob. If something did occur, it definitely was consensual. Nothing did happen because they say, oh, had we not found them in time, who knows what would have happened. That's how it's always presented, okay? But when she comes on the scene, you're like, oh, this wasn't just like some little kid. This is somebody that's like his age, and they potentially actually had some kind of romantic relationship. Anyway, the dad sees Bob again hanging out with his daughter, and he flips out and he puts this drill through Bob's head. Now, some people, I could understand some people loving it and just being like, yeah, I love that. But for me, within the story, it made no sense. It was like, that was it. Bob is in there to be the red heron, and then this dad just gets a hold of him, shoves this freaking drill press through his head. The end. Nothing is ever spoken of it again. It's just forgotten. And I felt that was really weird, and I felt that was bad storytelling in a way. I could see people being like, no, I loved it. It makes sense. If I was a parent, I would do that. Yes, I will give you that. If I thought somebody was going to rape my daughter, you better believe it, drill press right through the head. I had to have no qualms with that whatsoever. But it just didn't seem to make sense within the propelling the story forward in any kind of way. Bob dying didn't like reshape things. People didn't say, oh, well, Bob's dead and then this happened, so that must mean it's something else. Nothing. There was nothing that affected the story by this. It was simply there for the effect of seeing a drill go through somebody's head. Let's finish this video.
Guess what?
Chicken butt.
It's All Saints' Day.
The demand.
That right there, one of my biggest gripes, I may say this several times, one of my biggest gripes next to wanting to punch superiority man in the face, was the fact that there was a time limit that they never it obviously wasn't displayed, but the idea is this priest hung himself, opened the gates of hell. People are coming back from the dead, killing other people. And they needed to get there and shut the gates of hell before All Saints' Day. It was very important to note it had to be done before All Saints Day, but there was no sense of urgency whatsoever. They're trying to find their way to Dunwich to find where this priest is buried and destroy his body, hoping that this will close the gates of hell. But no one, other than this reporter, and this reporter, only in word did he seem to care. Not in deed and action whatsoever. They're driving, and this chick is all like, oh, I'm hungry, let's stop and eat. And he's like, you do know, the reporter says to her, you do know that we have to close this gate before All Saints Day, right? And she's just kind of like, I know, chill out, stop and smell the roses, let's get something to eat, it'll be fun. And I'm like, woman, do you not care? Do you understand? You have a time limit. You have to get there. You have to stop this. So nobody seems to give any Fs other than the reporter. And again, only in word, never in deed. They make it there. And at one point he's like, dude, we gotta hurry up because in a couple of hours, it's All Saints Day. We got to get this shut down. But no, they're taking their sweet time. They're doing all kinds of little shit. That's stop and crochet. I made that up. They didn't stop and crochet. But literally not doing anything. Just taking their sweet freaking time. Then they get to the freaking cemetery. They find the priest's tomb. And then they're like, well, it's All Saints Day. And I'm like, okay, well then you effed up in the movie. I mean, you missed your opportunity to shut the gates. What do we do at this point? But the movie keeps going. I was so frustrated with the lack of urgency shown to have to get there and shut the gates of hell.
An implacable enemy whose search for blood is never satiated.
Show you my favorite scene of this whole movie. Okay, here's Bob. He's in this abandoned house. Let me get rid of my face. He finds this freaking sex doll. He's all like, ooh, ooh, la, la. Or maybe he hides it. Is that how those things work? What the? Hang on. What the? I'm gonna back this up just a second. Let's do this again. I love I love how this is like some kind of a boat that you throw out an airplane or something like that, or an emergency slide out the side of an airplane. I had no idea that sex dolls had like ripcords for emergency humping. Okay, that made no sense to me that he throws it and this thing just instantly inflates. Cracked me the heck up. Oh my gosh, I was dying. What the heck is this? I mean, I know what it is, but the location on this thing makes no sense. Did anybody out there watch The Room by Tommy Wiseau? Is that his name? Tommy Wiseau. Tommy, The Room. There's a sex scene in this movie, and it even gets pointed out in the movie called The Disaster Artist, which is a movie based off the making of The Room, for anybody who has checked that out. And in the sex scene, it looks like Tommy is humping this woman's belly button. That's what it looks like. So the only thing I can assume is that Tommy's only experience in real life, Tommy's only experience was with one of these. And so he thought that's where you had sex with a woman, up here in her freaking belly button. That is just so incredibly weird to me and freaking hilarious. Here's another thing that made me laugh. Oh yeah, I like your curves, girl. Gosh. Oh, holy smokes. Look at he's like, I like him thick. That's so funny. Here we go. Let's, in a second, they're gonna, just like a real woman. Look at this. Look, this is the first gore that shows up in this movie. I can imagine Fulci, like, they first show it to him, and he's all like, what are we doing? Making a kid's movie? I want to see more mozzarella on that. And earthworms. Throw more earthworms on that. I want mozzarella and earthworms. This is supposed to be gore, not bore. That's my assumption there. Because that totally just looks like melted mozzarella and earthworms thrown on that. I mentioned I did enjoy this movie, but holy smokes, there is some major things to be pointed out that just made no freaking sense. I thought for sure that this guy that was the not the detective, the reporter, based on the way that this movie was going, I thought the reporter was going to be like the hero of the movie, and I had no problem with that. I liked this reporter. He was legit and cool. And there's this scene where they're down in these like catacombs, that's what I'm going to call it, which I love the whole atmosphere, the effects in the catacombs. I loved the underworld feel of it. It just came off really good. Suddenly, this woman that was murdered early in the movie is standing in front of them, and they're all looking at her. They all have an opportunity to at least back up in the cave, but they don't. It's just boom. Suddenly she's behind the reporter, ripping his freaking head off, crushing his skull and squishing his brain in her fingers. And I was like, wait, she literally was just standing in front of him. How did she teleport behind him and crush his skull? Annoyed the crap out of me, more so because I thought the reporter was going to be the hero and I liked him. So I was really pissed off that he died, because I knew at that point that superiority man that I want to punch in the face, I knew this MFer was going to end up being the hero of the movie. And I was so angry. Oh my gosh. I was like, this guy does not deserve to be the hero. He needs a punch in the face. I'm going to chill out here for a second, which leads to my very last clip I want to show you. So anyway, she's starting to get the eye blood thing going on. Priest is all like, that's right, I'm gonna make you cry blood. Look, this asshole, my gosh, I hate him so much. Let me shut my camera off just so that you guys can see this in full effect. Mr. Superiority. Oh, I'm gonna be a hero. Look at me. Cross. Right in his dick. What the frick? Am I the only... What? What kind of... What is going on? What just happened? Let's see that again. Look at that. Look how low that is. He did not stab him in the gut. He definitely, the ultimate sack tap. My gosh. Crucifix right to the dick. That is not fun. Not fun at all. So that's basically how the movie ends. The priest gets a crucifix to the dick. Superiority man saves the world. They crawl out of this catacombs. The cops are there. John's there. John runs to Superiority Complex man. He's like, oh, yay, you're alive. And then the movie just freaking, what is with this ending? Holy Parish of Doom, what is with this ending? Suddenly the screen freezes. This chicken superiority man have this look of terror on their face. It cuts to John, freezes in midair, and then like the film does like an effect as if like a black hole is sucking it in. What is this freaking ending? What is this ending? That's it. That's literally the end. What is this bullshit? There's some like theories or stories out there that say that the original ending got ruined by somebody who was editing it. They spilled coffee and they couldn't save the film, so they had to change the ending. But apparently you've never been able to get a straight answer out of Lucio Fulci about this. But this ending is some major bullshit. It's like you think it's a happy ending. You know, the priest gets stabbed in the dick. And then everything bursts into flames. The priest bursts into flames. All those undead that have come back to life, they all burst into flames. They all die and they all crumble. They crawl out of the catacombs. You think it's a great, you know, happy ending. And then suddenly just some freaking random black hole appears. Like, I guess it makes sense because as I was saying, I was complaining at the fact that they didn't kill this priest before All Saints Day. So I guess it would make sense that you'd be like, well, they missed their opportunity. And so the gates of hell, that was it. All over. Again, I did enjoy this movie. I have mentioned that I enjoy nitpicking. I would like to give it a special shout out to Cinema Cabinet for calling me out on my nitpicking. Calling it out, that's a little strong because I enjoy it. I enjoy picking out absurdities in movies. I think it's fun. But thanks to Cinema Cabinet, go check him out. He's trying to grow his channel just like I am. And he's clearly a lot younger than me, and he's going to have different opinions and thoughts on movies. And he also seems to enjoy movies way more than I do. He seems to be a real horror fan, whereas I just apparently just hate watch these movies. So I want to hear what you have to say. Holy Parish of Doom. Give me your thoughts. Was I over nitpicky? But I'm still going to give this a recommend. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. I definitely think you will have more fun watching it with a buddy, but I enjoyed it on my own as a whole. And it definitely is much better than Demania for sure. Everything that was written out there that I saw online about Demania being like one of Lucio Fulci's worst movies. I haven't seen them all, but just based on the, you know, City of the Living Dead and Demania, I would say, yeah, City of the Living Dead is far more entertaining than Demania. I don't, you know, Lucio Fulci is not somebody I was super familiar with. He has several movies out there. I'll probably take my time checking them out. So thanks again to Holy Parish of Doom for directing me in this area to check this out. Anybody else? What are your thoughts? Are you a fan of Fulci? What other movies should I check out? A total score. What would I give this? I know it's going to seem low, but as I have mentioned in the past, I don't think there are any 10 out of 10s. So just take that into consideration. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. There are definitely so many things that like don't make sense, or you can definitely, you know, bitch about, which obviously I did, but I still enjoyed it. I would still say give it a try if you're into these kind of campy, you know, 80s movies. This is definitely something that you should check out. Thanks for watching. Me and Jake are going to be streaming a movie later on today, which when we stream movies, you can check those streams out on Rumble. We do that simply because Rumble is a little more lenient when it comes to copyright and so forth. So if you want to head over to Creepin' It Real on Rumble, you can see us watch movies, stream movies live. Obviously, we're talking over the movies. We're saying things that are not necessarily funny. Jake likes to make dick jokes left and right. I mean, it's like his staple or something. So if you're into dick jokes, definitely check out one of our live streams over there on Rumble. And then we post our reviews generally over here. Thanks for watching. I am Judah. This has been Creepin' It Real, and I'll see you later.